as a young person, you graduate from school, it's been 5 years, it's been 6 years and counting, there's no job, no chance or no likelihood of you getting a job, but then you still are waiting on that job to be offered to you. You are a young person, so it's expected of you to be innovative, to think around what can you do, how do you create value for people to pay you, and then you earn a job. People think in a very tokenistic way, in a mediocre way. People settle for less. We want to tell them that they have no right to settle for less. They have no right to think along tokenism, but then let them be transformative in their approach. And that is what this retreat is about. I'm worried about the future because I still don't see young people at tables of decision making. I still don't see young people taking some leadership initiatives. These are people that are the most creative people in the society, the most creative, the most innovative constituency, yet you don't see them in leadership. So this is something that is really, really alarming from my own point of view. You oftentimes see young people being very, very passionate, especially in online platforms, wanting to always air their opinions, share their views about issues, but then when it comes to real engagement offline, that is a different story.
Hello viewers, and welcome back to another beautiful episode of the Together We Nudge podcast, where we inspire you, where we educate you and nudge you towards becoming the best version of yourselves. We have on this episode a very distinguished personality, and that is Abubakar Waziri. Abubakar Waziri is a co-founder and the executive director of Access Initiative Africa and the youth focal person for the Gombe Network of Civil Societies, GONET, where he advances initiatives on governance, inclusion, youth engagement, and leadership development. His work centers on building platforms that empower young people to lead boldly, participate meaningfully in civic processes, and drive sustainable community impact. Ladies and gentlemen, beloved viewers of the Together We Nudge podcast, let's make welcome Abubakar Ibrahim Waziri. You're welcome once again.
Thank you so much, Tope, for this generous and kind introductions. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, and I'm also honored to have you on the show this morning. Okay, so I have lots of questions for you because you have such an impressive profile, I must say, and I know that our audience cannot wait to hear what you have for them today. My first question for you is, a lot of people from your profile know you through your roles and your platforms, but who is Abubakar Waziri when the titles are set aside?
Well, thank you so much, Tope, for this. When you said you have a lot of questions, so I became scared already. So hopefully I'll be able to do justice to the listeners and to the questions, of course. Well, Abubakar Ibrahim Waziri is the name. I'm from Gombe State. I'm born and based here in Gombe State. And other than the titles, I think what gives me more joy as an individual is I'm a teacher at heart. I like to see how I kind of change people's thinking and help people to grow. Yeah.
Impressive. So was there a particular moment when you decided to be intentional about leadership, rather than just stepping into it when needed?
Yeah, for me, I see leadership as a call to service, and I think talking about the time, I think it's sometimes during my NCE days. I went to Federal College of Education Technical Gombe between 2011 and 2014, and I feel the need to step into leadership when I realized that there is more I can also offer. Not just being a student, but there's a way I can contribute to students' welfare. There's more I can contribute to people finding their academic lives even way easier. So I feel like that was a turning point for me, and I started with being the president of Rotary Club of FC as at that time.
Okay, wow. So I love the story. You went to school to learn, and while many students are absolutely dependent, and you decided to take an initiative to do something outside of your circle at the time. And of course, that's what gives birth to the person that we are seeing here today.
Exactly,
That's
correct.
impressive. I'm very sure that students and younger people can pick a clue from this and learn to do better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, based on your work with Access Initiative Africa and GoNet, what keeps you most concerned about the future?
Well, I think I'm very much concerned about the future in that I realize that you oftentimes see young people being very, very passionate, especially in online platforms, wanting to always air their opinions, share their views about issues. But then when it comes to like real engagement offline, that is a different story. So I feel like I'm worried about the future because I still don't see young people at tables of decision making. I still don't see young people taking some leadership initiatives. These are people that are the most creative people in the society, the most creative, the most innovative constituency, yet you don't see them in leadership. So this is something that is really, really alarming from my own point of view.
Okay, and I would say that you talked about not seeing young people on tables of where decision making is concerned. And what I'm going to say about that is, or let me start with you saying that you see a lot of young people active online, but when it's offline, they are disengaged. And so many times you see young people putting their energy into trivial things online, things that shouldn't even get their attention. And I think that explains why you don't really see them involved in something meaningful offline. And there are a few young people, I must say, for example, yourself, you started when you were younger. So there are a few young people who are trying, to do something really meaningful. And I also I belong to the school of thoughts, most people now do, thank God for exposure, that leadership is not about position, it's not about title, right? It's about you taking responsibility to do something from wherever you are. So if you are here and you're a young person listening and then you think, oh, my opinion doesn't count, or it's not that, like, I'm going to get invited to the State House or to anywhere where my voice matters. You can start with the little efforts, the little steps that you make from your environment will make a difference. And of course, from starting in your NC days, you've had several opportunities. You've had the opportunity to even speak on bigger platforms and to air your opinion and your view, which of course I believe that is already making great change and impact in the society. And there's also this, I can't remember who said it, but that the value of every nation is their young people. So as a young person, young people are assets. And thanks to somebody like you who is telling it, because sometimes they need to be told. And that's the reason for a platform like this. I'm talking about the Together We Nudge podcast, where we teach young people, where we are educating them to know that they can be more and they can do more from where they are.
Yeah, exactly. I also give it all to, the Together We Nudge podcast. These are platforms that we've dreamed to have, especially here in Gombe. And I agree with you. Yeah, of course, young people want to see things being done a certain way, and then they feel like they can also do. And this also aligns a lot with my school of thoughts, because I am somebody who always believes that if you want to mentor young people, if you want to bring about a certain change in behavior from young people, then you should be strategic to like have young people, lead the way. Because for instance, if I'm 60 years old, if I'm 50 years old, I'm doing some great things. This is expected of me. Like, I've been like 40 years into this game, 30 years into this game doing this.
Sure.
So nobody is surprised about you doing it. But imagine somebody who is in his early 30s or late 20s, driving initiatives, bringing about something that is really, really astonishing. Then it tells somebody who is younger, 18, 19, to know that this is something that is relatable, it's something I can do. And especially when you see somebody who is also local from your own kind of setting. This was the case for me back then during my college days. Some of the initiatives we did that time were, organizing some kind of incubation programs in school to like mentor people to learn ethical and value-based leadership, and then make them understand on a global scale, what a leader is. Just like you rightly mentioned, leadership is not about a title. What are those qualities that a leader should have? How do you even identify a leader? And stuff like that. As simple as this sounds, these are things that a lot of young people don't know, because people tend to learn by imitation. And then you'll agree with me that we don't have really good examples at the moment. You know, when you look at our political space, people who are taking on leadership positions, like there are a lot of people out there that whom you wouldn't even advise your younger one to kind of emulate. So yeah, I agree that young people are doing some of these things, and hopefully with our efforts and other people here in Gombe State, all over the country, driving this kind of change, we can actually achieve a very big goal.
Yes, thank you. And this is not even something that, what I'm about to say is not something that I just read in a book, but it's something that I have chosen to become myself. Be that leader, or be that thing that you want to see.
Exactly.
Be that example that you want to see. A lot of times, many young people, even older people, I decided to change my mindset when I see that the same things my grandmother complained about till she passed, and my parents and my uncles and aunties are complaining about. I decided to tell myself that you will also become 50 years and complain about those same things if you don't take responsibility for your life and begin to do things differently. So be that example that you wish you had. Be that person that you wish you had to guide you, to mentor you. And another thing is, we are talking leadership. I would like you to say a little about service, a little about followership, because you see many young people, they don't want to serve. They don't want to take the back space. They just want to be at the forefront when you are half-baked, when you don't even have value to offer yet. So what do you have to say to that person that's especially in social media days, everybody will say, I'm this, hi guys, I'm this, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So what you have to say to a young person, should they be more concerned about leadership first? That is leadership in the sense, I want to be at the forefront, I want people to serve me, I want to give orders. Or how would you define leadership to someone who has never had the opportunity to lead before?
Yeah, I think this is really a powerful thing, and I will respond to this in different folds. A lot of people misconceive leadership, and that is why the ideas around having incubation platforms, leadership trainings, and conferences can never be overemphasized, just so that people understand that for you to become a good leader, you have to be a great follower. It's also a powerful saying. So people don't follow, and the young people always have this notion that, this person is going to use me, this person is going to, I'm just following, I'm not even certain. You also want to be in the spotlight. But most of the great peoples we see out there that we emulate, that we want to be like, are people who have worked. And then, their story about work is not something that the media have done justice to by covering some of these things. At times, it gets really messy. It gets really uncertain. They feel like quitting at some point, but they still put themselves together, knowing that nobody is going to come to save them. They have to push themselves. And of course, just like you rightly said earlier, you have to be the example, be the change. A lot of us are dissatisfied about how things are happening. Like, as a young person, you graduate from school, it's been 5 years, it's been 6 years and counting. There's no job, no chance or no likelihood of you getting a job, but then you still are waiting on that job to be offered to you, So at times what you should do is to understand how many other alternatives do you have. Yes. You are a young person, so it's expected of you to be innovative, to think around what can you do, how do you create value for people to pay you, and then you earn a job. It doesn't just stop when you go to school. It's not your entitlement that you must be offered a job when you go to school. It's expected that you must have had your horizon being widened to see the world from a broader lens. Then it means that you can create a job. You can be. You don't just have to be a job seeker. You can be a job creator.
Right.
And by being a job creator, it doesn't mean that you're going to start from having a cement factory like the Dangote or a boa company and stuff like that. It means that you're going to start something little and then grow it over time, because you're young, so you grow with the business.
Right.
And then this is how leadership is done also. It starts from you following, serving first. This is where you build values. This is where you have discipline. This is where you become a very punctual person and you respect time. You have a lot of ethics that even when the growth comes, you can sustain them. But, because young people don't have these values, that is why you tend to see a lot of people hitting jackpots, having like millions of naira, but then give them 5 years, everything falls out. It's because they've not taken the time to grow some values that will enable them sustain some of this, sudden growth that they do have. So yeah, of course, this is my response to this.
Sudden growth indeed. All right. Where do you think many young people get civic engagement wrong? Or please, before you, I would like you to even define what civic engagement is first, before you link that to where many young people get it wrong.
Well, so I think I will define civic engagement from the perspective of service, and as the word has it, civic is not is something that is entirely the opposite of something private or personal. It means it's something that you do, of course, being considerate of the society. How do you like sensitize people? How do you volunteer to get certain things done in the society, and stuff like that. I think the reason why civic engagement is always got it wrong is because we are not adequately educated in terms of civic things. Back in the days, it's a core subject for you to do civic education. You understand, you are more aware about your society, the contributions that others did to the body of work, and then you are happy where you are now. You are enjoying some of these amenities because other people put it in place, right? Knowing that these things happen enables you to sustain them or even grow them. But now people don't know that certain things were done. They feel like it's their birthright. These are things that they just grew, and naturally some of these things happen. And then that is why it's hard for you to see young people taking this initiative, volunteering to get certain things done, volunteering to like clean up spaces. We do organize some sanitation work. The other time we went to the Ibrahim Hassan Dangombo Mega Park, and then you'll see a lot of people dumping sachet water, dumping bottles, empty bottles on stuffs. Some of these people rather, I don't have the data, so are people who are educated. You'll see coppers doing it. You'll see graduates doing it. You just finish your far water and you drop in a bottle. So we don't understand the implication of this. If you understand that you are an example, you are somebody who has not had the privilege of getting educated, looks up to, then you'll understand the consequence of doing some of these things. But because civic education is not something that is actually being carried out the way it should be, that is why it's hard for you to inspire people to be engaged in terms of civic work. So, but this is not to say that people have a right not to be engaged. You have no right to see, a lot of sachets, a lot of refuge being dumped wrongly in your neighborhood, because it has a way of affecting your health, and whether you want like it or not, it's gonna affect the overall air, the freshness of the air you consume and stuff like that. So it means that people should really be engaged, and even in the neighborhoods, other people who are out there who are not privileged to be educated, these are people that you try to like make them understand, organize some outreaches, sensitization programs, just to make people understand, see the world from your own lens. And I feel even as such, of course, you are being civically engaged.
No, with this explanation you gave, I'm sure that someone who thinks civic engagement is so big a word knows that it starts with even the little things. So I remember I was a teenager. I was when I got into higher institution, and I remember how I started to feel this level of discomfort for even how little things were done. For example, talking about dumping refuse around, I walked into the classroom and then I asked myself, we are undergraduates now and we're expected to have our lectures in a dirty environment. And I began to think, like, why is Nigeria like this? Why are Nigerians like this? And the answer is, it's because of the people. Because when we talk about Nigeria as a, what will I call it now? As a place, or let's say a landmass, doesn't have the ability to do things on its own. I am the one who makes Nigeria. It is you. We are the ones who make Nigeria. So I told myself from that moment, because I feel uncomfortable, I said, we have 200 students in the class right now. If 200 of us decide to litter, even if it's one each, we drop, this place will be full of debt. So I told myself, it doesn't matter who sees it as weird. So you'll always see my bag. I always have wrappers and, and I felt good doing that. And even though before you knew it, people around me noticed that I do that. And I said it's barbaric. Like, how would you just dump things? And then the fact that we could even sit down comfortably, like nobody sees that it is wrong. Like, how did we get here? So even the little things, and that is why people who didn't go to school can open their mouth and say that school is calm, because you that went to school, what did you do differently? You are doing the same thing they are doing. So they feel, I'm going to sit down for 4 or 5 years or whatever and spend my money to come out and still be like, we're all the same.
Yeah, exactly. I think just to add to what you just said, I think I saw a billboard somewhere, I think kept in a school. And then I'm not sure if I can remember the contents clearly, but it says that what is the essence of education if you will drink water and drop it for somebody who is not educated to come and clean up our mess. You know, that is a really powerful thing, sending a signal to anybody who is conscious to know that, you know, you don't actually portray the education you get.
Yes.
If you can just drink something and just drop it, and then somebody who is not even educated to come pick it up. So it's not about he's getting paid to do this. It talks about, you know, your level of education, your awareness, how you think, you know, and of course you're and civic engagement does not just stop about, you know, picking up debts and stuffs. There are a lot of things, there are a lot of people who don't have access to quality education. Why not you set up like tutorials, you know, extramural classes to guide people to understand certain concepts, certain theories, so that they can think differently. That is a way of you affecting development. I realize at some point that a lot of people struggle with public speaking. So sometimes I do host events, just like you mentioned in my profile. And a lot of people walk up to me and tell me that, you know, I want to talk the way you talk. I want to stand in front of people and address people. And then I realize that these are, you know, skills that I can nurture people have. So I put together like a hub for public speaking. And then a lot of people now, I've got a lot of success stories telling me that people were able to like garner some skills, some courage that they're able to withstand the pressure, the anxiety to, you know, to face panelists during interviews. Some of them, as we speak, are already public speakers, being able to present and you know, and do awesome things. So it doesn't just stop at you picking up debts. You can just look within your society. Civic engagement is not something that expects you to do a lot of sophisticated things, but those basic things in your society. You know, those gutters that are unkept, those rubbish that everybody's just throwing, a kind of points that is disconnected because the bridge is down. How do you pull yourself together, mobilize resources locally and fix some of these things? And of course, our society is not going to be the same. It's not everything that you just count on government. Come do this, come do that, you know.
I mean,
these are things that we can fix ourselves. And it will take us a long way, actually.
Okay, two things I would say. First of all, you are a great communicator, so I must say that you speak well. Yes, then the result of the investment you made on yourself is paying off. And I can't remember the second thing I want to say, but if I do, I'll say something about it. So yes, talking about still to students and younger people. A lot of times you have, you know, when you were in primary and secondary school, you were under your parents. You were fully dependent. They control where you go. They control the things you do. But when you get to school, I feel like that period when you are in school is the best moment of your life to begin to define who you want to be and the path you want to follow. Because once you're done with school, you finish NYSC, if you're a normal person, you start thinking of how do I make money? How do I get a job? Or how do I begin? How do I create something? How do I build a business? Or the pressure becomes more when you are out of school. So that period when you are an undergraduate is the time to begin to lay a foundation for yourself. So talking about this, when I schooled in the North, unfortunately, I can't speak Hausa till now. So I found out that in my hostel, so I met a girl. I used to think she was very rude. Because if I talk to her, she doesn't answer me. I'm like, how can somebody be this mean? Do I know you before? I'm talking to her, you're not answering me. I found out that she doesn't understand English. That's why she hasn't been answering me. Oh my God. I started to ask myself questions like, how did she get here? I mean you wrote WAEC or NECO, whatever you wrote. You wrote JAMB, even simple English. Or maybe she understands and she can't even express herself. Nothing at all. So fortunately for us, we had a barrack close to my school. So I went to the barrack and I started to gather children. That was how I started mine. I started to gather children and even their parents. I said, I want to organize an adult education and all of that. And I started to use students in my school. I mean, it meant a lot to me at the time that my school could give me gave me our auditorium to use, and even lecturers to support me. So I had about 20-something volunteers who worked with us together. We went around the school to have students there. And that was the beginning for me. And that they tell me from just identifying, because I feel deeply, honestly. So if I identify something, it doesn't leave my head. I go back, I'm thinking, why did this person do this? Why did this person, what can I do to do this and all of that? Do you understand? So as a young person, do not just, you go to school, you go back and you laugh on TikTok and I mean, you finish and what next? What next, really? You're blaming the government for not sweeping your room. Like, please make it make sense. Yes, because that people blame the government a lot. Your pipe is broken, you blame the government. You did not, like, what exactly do you want? What exactly do you want? So there must be a level of responsibility that we must take, really. Okay. What made you feel there was a real need for something like the Diban Fiery Leadership Retreat?
Well, I think a cursory observation about our society is one of those factors. And for me, I've seen the impacts that Imam Fari Leaders Retreats, a similar kind of retreat has done in my own life, and then that is what I've actually had that in mind. Sometimes in 2019, I was privileged to attend a Rotary Youth Leadership Awards. It's a program that was held in the Youth Support Center at Abuja. And, it was a 6 days retreat. It was a full camp 6 days retreat. And I was privileged to see people from all over the country, from every part of Nigeria, being represented. And these are really, really, great people, great speakers who were, chosen to come speak to us. This was really instrumental in changing how I see things. So now I look at the context, I look at our setting. While you were talking earlier, you talked about for every normal person who has finished school, you start thinking of what to do. I think at the moment, if you had to wait for you to finish school before you start thinking of what you're going to do, I don't think you're normal. Like this is something you should start thinking even while you are in school.
Right.
Because somebody who is actually studying the right course and is doing the right thing, being in the university, is supposed to have seen things beyond the university. Okay, why are you finishing this course to get to? Where do I want to do? It's expected that you must have started to choose that course. Of course, I understand that, the jam changed people's fate and stuff like that. But because we are not intentional about our growth, our decisions, we don't have the patience to wait for another year to take on the course that we want to do. We just follow, the situations the way they are. So what I'm trying to say here is, you just have to be sure what problem you want to solve. That is the way to think. Whether you want to be a leader, whether you want to blow in business, whether you want to grow, it's all about you solving a problem. So who are you? How much have you answered the question about your own self-awareness? How much are you aware or oriented about the setting? How much information do you have about the likelihood or the opposite of it about you getting a job when you finish school? We are in a setting where we have a lot of graduates, a lot of people with even powerful class of degree finishing school and they don't have jobs. But then the question is not about the class of degree, it's about their inability to understand the essence of getting educated. If you're getting educated, are you getting educated just to be hired and work for someone, or you are getting educated so that you become liberated? If it's to become liberated, then a lot of options are there. You choose what you want to do, right? So it's not just a thing about, you just looking internal, but look at the awareness you have. I understood that a lot of graduates are out there, but it is an entirely one thing to go to the university, and it's another entirely thing for you to succeed after the university. There is a significant gap in what we learn in universities and how we live in this setting. So that is why this retreat is necessary, just so that we kind of change the paradigm, right? We change people think in a very tokenistic way, in a mediocre way. People settle for less. We want to tell them that they have no right to settle for less. They have no right to think along tokenism, but then let them be transformative in their approach. And that is what this retreat is about. It was really powerful. A parent called me the other day. I was telling me that, what did you do to my child? This guy is just so ambitious now. It's not magic. It's just a clear projection about the consequence of you not being proactive. You see how you're growing into a certain blocked path. This is something we were able to lay our hands or reach out to people who are experts. And they were able to like find time, because they are also worried like us about, having time to stop by to facilitate sessions to the younger generation, so that they understand how to become financially intelligent, how do you become financially independent, how do you kind of heal from trauma and what's not. A lot of powerful topics, a lot of conversations that we will ordinarily avoid. These are things that we have during the sessions, and then of course they kind of change how people think. Some of the success stories we already have is that at the moment, I've known about a few of these participants who have already begun some businesses, which originally when they started the retreat, they don't do. Some of them are into all these delivery services and stuff like that because they are mobile, and they realize that they're just wasting with their maybe, and they complain that they don't have jobs. But then they realize that they can leverage on some of their mobile, their bikes, and then some cars and stuffs to be able to like, solve other people's problem and earn, profit at the end of the day. So this is the reason why we feel it's important. And of course, we also name it. Like if somebody wants to make a bed, you can always get a carpenter, store somewhere around. If somebody is having headache, you can go to a pharmacy store or go to a hospital and stuff. Where do I go if I want to become a leader? Like we don't have incubation hubs where leadership is being taught. And then oftentimes we tend to complain that, okay, some of these people in leadership positions only prepare these positions for their kids because they're intentional. They're able to see what you don't see. While you're complaining about them, they're able to like make projections. Okay, they realize that you need to have some skills. They realize that you need to have some certain understanding about this leadership. You need to achieve things 15 years back for you to be qualified for a leadership position at the moment. So they are able to like, take their kids to some of these fellowship programs, some of these incubation platforms so that they can learn. And that is why we feel we should bring it home for people who don't have that privilege, right? So that they can also learn some of this and be prepared, so that they understand leadership from a broader perspective. They start living like leaders already, so that when it's time for them to vie for any position, they are already made. So we don't have any incubation hub, and that is why we are setting one, so that leaders can be bred. We can, graduate every different set of qualitative leaders year in, year out. It's not about the number, it's about the quality. And this is the one we did in 2025 was just a pilot. It's something we just did to test the idea. Okay. And with the outcomes we got, we are never going to stop. We're going to continue. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't say it. It's Abubakar who said it, that you have no right to settle for less.
Exactly.
That really hits me. You have no right to settle for less, really. Wow, that's really amazing. I remember what I said I wanted to say. So permits me, I hope I can afford to bring you on. So I have a civic engagements program coming up soon, either this month or towards the beginning of next month. I hope I can invite you.
Hopefully. I used to get very, very weak when I'm fasting, so let's see. Yeah. But that's just a joke.
Yeah. Okay, wow. I could feel the passion. I could feel the energy
and the anger.
Yes, it's very needed. It's very needed. Okay. So during that retreat, was there a moment? Okay, and before I go to the next question, something you said. If you need to make a bed, you go to a carpenter. If you need to get medication, you go to the pharmacy. But where do you go to learn to become a leader? This is a food for thought, really. This is a food for thought. Where do I go to when I am feeling stuck? Where do I go to when I want to become a leader? This is a question that we must all ask ourselves and answer. And thanks to the Diban Fari, so because of my house, the Diban Fari leadership retreat. Thank you. I must say thank you for the amazing thing that you're doing with the retreat. So during that retreat, which you said was like a test run for you, was there a moment that deeply affirmed the vision for you?
Yeah, indeed. I think we've got different moments, but I think what stand out for me is seeing the participants already during the retreats, being able to pinpoint and identify some of their own personal biases, them keeping themselves on scale and gauging that they're actually getting some of these things wrong. I think that was instrumental for me, because that is saying that some of these sessions are really, really valuable, and then they're really, really effective. them understanding that there are certain decisions they thought that earlier they thought were right, but then now they see that it's actually a bias, and then it's something that they are willing to make amends on. So I think this is really, really instrumental for me, since the question is about during the retreat. But post-retreat, we've got a lot of feedbacks, because the last day of the retreat, we had some, feedback forms anonymous for people to fill, so that they don't tell us nice things, right? They should feel free to criticize us. We've got some feedbacks, a lot of feedback on the positive side and a few on the negative. Of course, we're going to get the negative because this is self-funded. This is an initiative that we did with just partnership with other organizations who also are worried about, the leadership status of people in the state. But then, there's a lot of funding gaps, funding restrictions. So definitely we are not able to give people turkey and chicken, and stuff like that. So of course, some of them will talk about this, and some of them will tell you that you delay breakfast. You don't bring breakfast as early as possible, because other people have a culture of eating breakfast at 7, at 8. We serve breakfast at 10:40, right? So these are just to tell you about some of the negatives, right? But then that is because we couldn't have it a full camp event. That was what we planned for. If it's a full camp, we can be sure that people can wake up at 5:30, pray, go for morning devotion, come back, do some sort of sanitations, because that's our way of us instilling some values in them, and then taking their breakfast, and then beginning the day. So that way we can serve breakfast as early as 8. But now they are coming from homes. We thought that they've eaten from home. Right?
Yes.
But I think from the feedback, some of them don't eat from home, right? Yeah, and then some of the positive we got that, our meals are very delicious. So I think there are also, two things that are kind of conflicting. In as much as somebody felt worried that, it's not served early, others feel very excited because they are actually sweet. So, the lack of funding is one of those things that, delights us the ability to keep some of these things really, really big. But I want to assure you that it's actually a very good feedback.
Okay, I can't believe people are still crying for rice and turkey in 2025. It's not rice and turkey that led us where we are, because they get people food in exchange for their birthrights, basically, and that's why Nigeria is the way it is.
I'm not saying that people are crying out. I'm just saying.
No, that's unless I get it.
Yeah.
So a lot of young leaders are passionate but struggle with organization. What practical habits help you stay focused and structured?
Well, as somebody who has a background in sociology, I think I reflect a lot about causality and effects, right? That is what I'm trained, in the university to think alike. So I always have time to sit down and reflect. Okay, when I do things wrong, I own it, right? I accept the fact that I'm wrong, and I own it. And I think around the consequences of some of these things. There are certain behaviors or certain things that I do that someone else who is observing will think that I'm doing something wrong, but because I take the time to understand the reason why I'm doing it and the effect of it, then it's almost hard for me to change it just because somebody feels a certain feeling about it. So when you understand the consequence, the effect of things, when you're honest with yourself to bluntly tell yourself that I was wrong in this and I got this thing right, then I think this helps you a lot. A lot of things are happening. Imagine being a classroom teacher, and at the same time being an admin and HR in a very big and very growing organization, and being an executive director and a founder of a growing initiative, and being a father and a husband all at the same time, and a son, right? This is a lot of things happening all at the same time. So, but then I understand the consequence of not doing it, right? I know why I'm doing some of these things. I know why I have to do it, and I know why not doing it might actually cost me. So that is why I kept going. And being organized is something that I cannot overemphasize. I've taken a lot of courses to understand how to plan time. To be honest, it hurts me a lot when we have an appointment at 10 and you come at 10:10. It hurts a lot, right? And that is the only reason why I'm able to do all of these things all at the same time. I think this is something that a lot of young people need to improve on, because when you tell people to come a certain time, the chances of them coming that time is actually very slim, because we have a culture of, they call it African time. I hate that word, but it's true that we don't respect time, right? So I feel, having this ethics, understanding the consequence of not coming on time, how it affects other people, planning your time as a budget, just like you think of your money. Once you spend it here, it's gone. That is the same thing you should think of time. And then once you have 30 minutes gone, then that 30 minutes is gone forever. So if people see it that serious, and I think it's going to help you a lot, and it helps me a lot actually.
Wow. That's a food for thought. I personally also, it's something that I personally have to work on myself. I mean, time management. A lot of times I think myself like, why do
It's not as easy as it sounds. I'm still working on it.
I get it, but it's something I've also identified myself. Generally, I tell myself like how I feel like maybe there is a science to time. I don't understand, because how come you can plan so much and it looks like you've accurately, and at the end of the day somehow there is a loophole. But yeah. All right, let's talk about TEDx Pantami. Like that's a very big one. So what do you think? Why did you start it? And do you really think the conversations you've been having have been truly impactful?
Well, I think I need to make a clarity. I didn't actually start TEDx Pantani.
Okay.
I only hosted the recent event for the TEDx event. It was started by a brother, and I think they are doing awesome things. I think the one I hosted was the second edition, which was held in 2025, December 2025. So I think as somebody who hosted the event, I think I have to give it all to the organizers. One, two, for their ability to identify really, really powerful speakers, people who are seasoned mentors, seasoned coaches, to get to speak to people for 15 to 18 minutes about, decisions that could change their life, change a lot of outcomes, a lot of results about some of the things they do, sharing some of the secrets why they are as successful as they are at the moment. So being the person who moderates this session and ensuring that we are able to, keep to time, do the right thing, and the right information is being communicated. There was decorum. It's something that I really, really appreciated.
Okay. So right now, what kind of leadership do you believe Nigeria needs the most?
This is a tricky question, to be very, very honest. But this is my personal opinion. My personal opinion is that we need actually a benevolent dictator. Yeah, in as much as there are two conflicting words. Dictators are usually not benevolent, but you need somebody who has a touch of these two things. Benevolent because there are a lot of reason for us to sympathize with a lot of outcomes, a lot of people who are very poor, a lot of people who are very sick and they're uncatered for and stuff like that. But I talked about being a benevolent dictator just so that somebody who is stoic in principles, somebody who will not look at your tribe, your religion, where you come from, whether you voted for them when they are taking certain decisions, if they are the right decisions to be taken. Somebody who is that bold to, go against his relatives, his family, his friends, if they are on the wrong side. These are the kind of people we need to have. Otherwise, we cannot turn the tide because we are year in, year out sinking, right? We're supposed to be a developing country. I don't think we are developing. We are underdeveloped. This is a hard fact that we should tell ourselves. And then unless if we start embracing them and we have people who are really true and honest to take these decisions, then I don't think we can get it right anytime soon. But I still believe in Nigeria. I believe in the Nigeria project, and I believe that there are still good people out there. Right. It's just that we don't trust them with the responsibility to pilot our affairs. But it's going to work for Nigeria if we have somebody who is benevolent, a benevolent dictator.
So we are waiting for the benevolent dictator in Nigeria.
That's if you agree.
Okay, that will be all for today. I must say this, I really had a good time hosting you, and if I could have my way, I wouldn't have wanted this to end. But like they say, what has a beginning surely has an end. Yeah. So we have come to the end of this episode of the Together We Nudge podcast. But I have an informal question for you. So what's that thing you enjoy to do that, we talk seriousness, this. So what's that thing that you do for fun that would take people by surprise?
What I like doing for fun that will take people by surprise is making money.
Okay, that's still serious.
Yeah, and because I think I have a different understanding about money, because I see money as something that helps me become who I am. Like, I think I have a very weird lifestyle that I need money to keep being independent in my decisions, right? Mm-hmm. I have decisions that people don't always understand. So imagine not having money to sustain those kind of decisions. Then you're going to be in trouble. I know anytime I tell people that I like making money for fun, it's always funny, but it's because I am aware of the context, so like where we are at the moment.
Right.
If you cannot afford certain things, people don't think the way you think, so it's hard for you to get people on board to do some of these things.
Yes.
So that is actually a funny response, and I think that is what I like doing for fun.
Okay. Well, it's good to make your own money so you don't become a puppet. You can stand your ground, like,
Exactly.
because. Oh, I wanted you to say something else, but okay. That's your response to it. Thank you once again for coming to our show together with Notch Podcast. And that will be all for today. Keep following us on our social media platforms. Watch other previous episodes of our podcast. And don't forget to continually improve on yourselves. Until next time, bye.
Bye.